In the fifth module of the course section devoted to the analysis of financial statements, we turn our attention to liquidity and solvency ratios. Before we introduce the actual ratios, let us clarify the meaning of the terms liquidity and solvency. Liquidity refers to a company's ability to pay current liabilities, implying a short-term perspective, whereas solvency refers to a company's ability to meet its long-term obligations. The two liquidity ratios which you will find being used most often in the analysis of financial statements are the current ratio and the quick or acid test ratio. The current ratio is expressed as the relationship between current assets and current liabilities. Because the numerator and denominator of the fraction both utilize elements of working capital, the current ratio is also referred to as the working capital ratio. The current ratio measures the adequacy of the company's current assets to meet current liabilities. This interpretation is naturally based on the assumption that in the short term, current assets should convert into cash and therefore generate a source of liquidity to make ongoing payments. A higher ratio naturally indicates a higher level of liquidity, that is, a greater ability to meet short-term obligations. A current ratio of 1 would indicate that the book value of current assets exactly matches the book value of current liabilities. Traditionally, a current ratio of 2 was often regarded as safe. More recently, however, ratios of closer to 1.5 are increasingly being regarded as acceptable. The analyst should not fall into the trap of automatically interpreting an increase in the level of the computed current ratio as a sign of improving liquidity, as this may, for example, be the result of rising receivables due to delays in the receipt of amounts due from customers, or increasing inventory levels reflecting a company's inability to sell goods which it has already purchased or produced. An abnormally high current ratio may also reflect the accumulation of high cash balances, which could potentially be put to better use. A lower ratio indicates less liquidity, implying a greater reliance on operating cash flow and outside financing to meet short-term obligations. The second of the liquidity ratios is the quick ratio, which is also known as the acid test ratio. Its construction is similar to that of the current ratio in the sense that it measures the relationship between current assets and current liabilities. This time, however, the numerator specifically excludes inventory, which is deemed to be the least liquid of all current assets, in the sense that it is furthest away from turning into cash. By eliminating inventory and focusing on quick assets only, that is on trade receivables and cash balances, the quick ratio provides a more conservative assessment of a company's liquidity. Its level would typically be expected to oscillate between 1 and 0.7. Let us now turn our attention to solvency ratios, which, as we remarked at the top of this module, provide a measure of a company's ability to meet obligations over a long-term perspective. We will introduce and discuss two such measures, namely gearing and interest cover. Financial gearing or financial leverage ratios measure the amount of debt present in a company's capital structure. This is commonly expressed in one of two ways: by means of the debt-to-equity ratio or the ratio of debt to capital employed. In the first case, the ratio is measured as the relationship between a company's balance of loans and preference share capital divided by the carrying amount of ordinary share capital, reserve capital, and non-controlling interest. In the second case, the numerator of the fraction stays the same, but the denominator is additionally increased by the sum of loans and preference share capital, that is the same items as in the numerator. As you can see, both versions of the gearing ratio feature debt in the numerator, which is composed of loans, that is all instances of interest-bearing debt, but not, for example, trade payables, which typically carry no explicit interest. Additionally, debt, as shown in the numerator, also includes preference share capital, as preference shares are similar to debt instruments in the sense that they carry a fixed dividend, which is payable before any distributions are made to the holders of ordinary shares. A business which is highly geared, that is one which utilizes a high degree of debt financing, will have specific characteristics which an analyst should understand and appreciate. Firstly, as compared to equity capital, debt is generally the cheapest source of financing, which is due to the lower risk faced by providers of debt, as well as the tax deductibility of interest payments. Accordingly, businesses which utilize debt in their capital mix tend to exhibit lower weighted average cost of capital levels. What is more, they also enjoy higher levels of return on equity in periods when revenue and profits are growing. However, the presence of debt also creates distinct risks, because unlike dividends on shares, interest on debt has to be paid irrespective of business performance. Highly geared companies face a higher risk of insolvency and are generally viewed as risky investments, which limits their ability to take on additional debt at a reasonable cost. It should also be noted that various companies will typically have different ability to take on debt. Because of the already mentioned requirement to pay interest irrespective of market conditions and business performance, a high level of gearing will typically be more common for companies with relatively stable earnings. Additionally, most providers of debt financing, be it banks or bond investors, favor borrowers who are able to provide them with collateral, that is, assets which may be liquidated in the case of the borrower defaulting, so as to provide promised payments to the lenders. The assets which typically serve this purpose best are those with relatively low fluctuations in market value, slow depreciation, and which do not exhibit significant swings in demand, such as land and buildings in prime locations. To finish this module off, let's introduce another ratio that is closely linked to the level of debt carried by a business, namely interest cover, which is computed as the profit before interest and tax divided by the amount of interest payable. This ratio measures the number of times a company's EBIT could cover its interest payments. A higher interest coverage naturally indicates stronger solvency, offering greater assurance that the company can service its debt from operating earnings. A low interest cover may be a signal that the company's shareholders are unlikely to receive dividend distributions, as most of the company's earnings before interest and tax are paid out to lenders in the form of interest.